Hey friends, Pastor Dave here with another weekly devotion for all the saints. Hope you are doing well this week. It is Holy Week. It is the last week of Jesus' life as we head into Easter. And so I want to start with a reading from Sarah Arthur's Coffee with God that is about the cross. There's an ancient Christian tradition known as the Stations of the Cross, which often takes place during Holy Week, especially on Good Friday. A sanctuary is arranged with up to 14 prayer stations, each one representing an episode from the last hours of Jesus' life. It starts with Jesus' midnight trial after his arrest in the garden at Gethsemane, and then it moves from carrying his cross through the streets of Jerusalem all the way to his death and burial in the tomb. Worshippers walk from station to station, pausing at each one to remember that particular part of the story and pray. Sometimes there's a piece of visual art representing the episode in Jesus' life, a wood carving or a painting. Other times, people simply pause and read the story from the Bible. Whatever the case, by the time they're finished, they've relived the essential moments of the Passion narrative and prepared their hearts for the holy silence of Holy Saturday and for the promise of Easter. One year, my church decided to do something like that, except instead of creating a dozen or so different stations, we made a large cross from the trunk and branches of the Christmas tree that had stood in the hallway during Advent, and then it was the cross that moved from station to station during the 6 weeks of Lent. First, it started out near the entrance of the sanctuary. The following week, it had progressed a few steps down the aisle toward the altar. And the following week, it had moved even farther. The plan was that by Good Friday, the cross would be on the stage in front of the altar. But some people weren't very happy with this arrangement, particularly while the cross was still in the aisle, because its arms were just high enough that they could clothesline you if you weren't paying attention, and they were just long enough that you couldn't simply walk around the cross to reach your seat. The only way to make it down the aisle was to duck under those arms, which was the point, of course. The only way to progress in the spiritual life is through the cross of Jesus Christ. There is no Easter without Good Friday. As Oswald Chambers said, we are too much given to thinking of the cross as something we have to get through. We get through it in order to get into it. Saints, I thought that was such a powerful and timely reminder as we head into the season of Easter, that the cross is the only way to really make sense of it. The cross is not something that we can get around. It is not something that we just hurry past. It is something that we have to deal with. That image of the people in Sarah's church either getting clotheslined or having to duck under the arms of the cross, it was amusing to me, but it's also, metaphorically, it's right on, isn't it? The cross is not something that we can just get past. We actually do the same thing here at St. Andrew with the cross that we put up in the Commons area on Maundy, Thursday usually. Sometimes we've had it up through the whole season of Lent, but on Maundy, Thursday, when you come into worship, you have to go past that cross to get there. You have to notice it. You have to recognize it. You have to interact with it. The point being that the cross is an integral part of our Christian journey. We actually say this when we repeat the Jubilee affirmation of faith from Matthew's Gospel, where Jesus tells the disciples, anyone who wants to follow me must take up their cross and follow. Very often, I think, in the Christian life, we turn away from the cross because it's so hard to deal with. It's so painful. It's hard to make sense of. It is a mystery at some level. But in order for us to grow in faith, in order for us to grow closer to Jesus, we simply cannot get around the cross. What would it look like if we picked up our cross and carried our cross the way that he suggests? As a metaphor, it means that we deal with those difficult situations in our lives. We deal with those hard relationships and those conversations that we don't really want to have. We deal with that friction that is happening at work that we don't really know how to address. We deal with that addiction or with that emotional problem that we would much prefer to just ignore. When we pick up our cross and carry our cross, that's when change really begins to happen. That's when God can transform us. But when we are uncomfortable with it and we instead choose to put it aside, then nothing will change. So saints, think about, where is the cross in your life? And how have you perhaps been avoiding it? What would it mean? What would it look like for you instead to address, to face, to deal with that cross? Perhaps even to pick it up and carry it. That's your devotion for this week. Hope it's helpful. Worth thinking about. Hope you are doing well, staying healthy. I'll be praying for you, saints. Please keep praying for me, and I will see you all again soon. Take care.